Last episode, you saw us meandering down the east coast of the U.S. We made a jump through the East River in Hell's Gate of New York City, and we landed in Great Kills Harbor Marina. This episode, we're going to make a gigantic jump, 160 nautical miles down the Jersey coast, all the way from Great Kills Harbor to Ocean City, Maryland. After a rest in Great Kills Harbor, we woke up in the morning.
Alexia's looking for the
first
weather.
thing you do when you wake up in the morning, you have cell coverage, is you look at your wind information, look at where you're going to go, look for weather fronts, and I'm trying to get the weather. So today will be a high of 18, but in a couple of days it'll be freezing. So I want to know if we get all the way to Norfolk, West Virginia and Chesapeake Bay, what will it be warmer there in a week? Because here it's going to be cold. How far south do we got to keep running until we stop freezing?
Stop running.
And then we can slow down.
So that's the morning, Wednesday morning. And it is November 7. It's 5:30 in the morning. And we get, there you go. And we're getting ready to lift the anchor and let's go. It will be a running wind, thank you, from offshore for the next 2 days. So it will be, let's do mileage.
We motored our way out of Great Kills Harbor before sunrise. We say goodbye to New York City and just keep on pointing south. And sometimes as the captain you have to be at the helm even when you would rather be in bed. We're going to raise the main and then we can fall off and run out to Sandy Hook. We're out of the channel, depth 18 feet at high tide, wind is 12 knots from 240 degrees. Although we were expecting a running wind, we were also expecting a running wind over 20 knots. So as the cautious captain, I raised the main with the first reef in. Goodbye, New York City. I wish I had more time to explore, but I gotta get south before winter. The sun rises and finds us off the coast of Sandy Hook, New Jersey. We're running with first reef in the main and only about 70% Jenny. The good news is we have a good weather window. The ocean is very calm and we are running in the wind. I can't zoom in anymore, but there's the sailing vessel Lindley, for some reason in perfect conditions, not sailing. And then ahead of them, that second mast you see there, that's the sailing vessel Nighthawk that was kind enough to help us through the Hell's Gate and the East River yesterday. 45-foot sailboat, the other one's a 50-foot sailboat. Under perfect sailing conditions, they don't raise sails. It's just, why do people buy sailboats if they won't sail them? So I would say the race is on with Nighthawk. We're going to the same place, same destination. But if he's not sailing, he's only motoring, I guess it's not a fair race, is it? Put your sails up, buddy. There's a weird sandbar off the beginning of the Jersey coast, so you can either go inside or outside. In WildChild, we chose to go inside. Sure, the wind got a little forward of the beam, but it's still perfect sailing conditions. How rare is this? The Jersey coast is flat, deserted, sandy beach in a straight line for miles and miles. It's known for intense breaking waves when the wind is in the wrong direction and can be very dangerous. But choose your window. So we're off Sandy Hook, New Jersey. We have 10 knots of wind. We're moving at 5.6 knots. Wind angle 70 degrees and ocean conditions are perfectly calm. The swell is small and like inconsequential. And because we're hugging the shoreline, the wind waves haven't had time to build. So let's see if we can get 100 miles done. Cake Bay, here we come.
The green water here is slightly warmer, and soon we will see our first dolphins. The nice thing about a fully equipped blue water ocean-going vessel is that they basically drive themselves. But you are always there to babysit, to keep an eye on things. Hours and hours on the helm, just looking for corrections. At the helm, I can't help but wonder about this Jersey coast that I'm passing. Millions of lives on shore I know nothing about.
I know that waves never show on the camera. There's this peculiar, like a riptide. I don't know if I can show it. This like intense area that we just cut through of like a weird cross current or riptide off the Jersey shore.
Sometimes on a sailing vessel, you need to move forward to make adjustments. I've got my bungee cord attached to the jack line as I go forward to adjust things. Michelle had forgotten to put one of the UV covers on one of the gas jerry cans. Look on the horizon, another sailing vessel, again in perfect conditions, and not sailing. But look on the horizon, a sail. Finally, another sailboat sailing. But we checked the AIS. They've still got their motor on. After a whole day of taking turns at the helm, eventually the sun begins to set. We're gonna run through the night. Almost all sailboats sailing south from Canada come through one of the 3 canals and pop out in New York City. Most people stay in Sandy Hook and make the shortest possible jump down to Atlantic City, New Jersey. But as we've been sailing, I've been analyzing the conditions. We're actually in a good position. Atlantic City's really expensive. If we can jump an extra 70 nautical miles south to Ocean City, Maryland, it'll be cheaper and we'll pass the Delaware Bay. But that makes this a long jump of approximately 160 nautical miles. Hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months at the helm. It really isn't fun anymore. I've got my podcasts to keep me company because I'm used to being at the helm. I'm adapted to life at sea. Didn't all those other YouTube videos sell to me the idea that life at sea is glorious, glamorous, and fun? Why does nobody ever talk about the boredom?
Check this out. A freaking helicopter. Why can't I find him? There he is.
As the sun sets, a Coast Guard search and rescue helicopter keeps us company for an hour. Apparently, somebody's been lost out here.
Okay, sailors, we're night sailing. We're off the coast of Atlantic City. I told you it's kind of hard to show things when we're sailing at night, but I had an idea earlier. We can turn on some lights. I don't know if that helps you see me. So I'm alone at the helm, and I don't know if you can see the lights in the distance. That's Atlantic City. We are 13/4, wind angle at 48 degrees. The ocean's actually relatively calm. Like, I know to all my friends I talk constantly about getting pounded by the ocean, and it's funny, like as much as you see me kind of getting flung around the cockpit, this is calm. Like this is the calmest conditions we've seen in over a month. It's just that the swell wave period is about equal to the length of the boat, or boat length and a half. It's hard to tell, but that's the lights of Atlantic City. We're off the New Jersey coast.
Although there's nothing to see at night but blackness and the chart plotter, it turned out to be an eventful night. There was about 12 sailboats out here making the same jump at the same time. But there were also working vessels, barges moving north towards New York City. At one point, there was a tugboat towing a barge on a 1,000-foot lead, and a sailboat that was going to split the difference and get cut in half. So there was a lot of commotion and panic on VHF 16. Some of the sailboats had AIS, some of us just had radar, and some of the sailboats were blind.
In the when we're the passage, so I need to go in peace on. I put my feet out. I didn't even touch the floor, and then the wave took. I just slipped and bang on the table. Oh my goodness! oh my goodness! And then I opened the hatch to talk to Lexi, and she thought I hurt myself because I cannot talk. I was just laughing. Oh, what a wake up!
So you were sleeping in that passage bed and trying to get out, the wave
So
flipped you onto the table.
I was like that, so I just did this. Pow!
Yeah, Cap, as soon as that tender gets out of the way, you could just have the drags close.
Fans, we left Great Kills Marina in New York City yesterday morning, about 24 hours ago. And we are here, and we are aiming for Ocean City Marina around here, another 24 miles. We won't make it to Norfolk, which is just too far, but we hear Ocean City Marina is a good place to stop. We've done 100 and something miles, so we jumped the entire Jersey coast in one long shot. That's not bad. But for some reason in the night when we were going down the Jersey coast, there was a lot of traffic and it got crowded all night long, so we had to run with the nav lights on quite a bit. There were a bunch of northbound tugs and barges. One tug pulling a barge on a 1,000-foot cable, which doesn't show up. The load doesn't show up on AIS, just the tug does. And he was coming against the tide of sailboats. There was probably 10 sailboats making this journey last night. We were all in the same area taking advantage of the same conditions.
We're on a dead run now with the winds from behind, and we're fine. We're doing 17/6. I furled the Jenny because it gets choked out by the main and just flops around uselessly.
So it's Thursday morning, November 8th. It's supposed to be sunny. We've been running all night. You can see conditions are calm, but it's pretty cloudy. There's not a lot of sun, so we're not charging the batteries as much as we need to. We had the winds on the nose all day yesterday, which made the sailing difficult because we were pushing against waves like this in 10 knots of wind on the nose, pushing into like 2 and 3 foot swells. So the problem was we weren't making a lot of speed. We were doing 3 knots most of the day and having to tack a lot. And then around 2 or 3 a.m. the wind swung around as it was predicted and became a run. Now we're 17 over 6 and we're running in now building seas from behind. That's the ocean for you. And after 30 long hours at sea, we finally find Ocean City, Maryland. Now I'm about to make a mistake, and I don't know it. I'm looking at the tide information, and it says we are approaching this channel at low tide. So I assume that to mean no current. Slack tide between low and high. What I got wrong was that the current actually peaks at about 5 knots for an hour after low tide. We had dropped sails and switched to motor to make our run into the entrance when the fishing captain from this boat, Christy, called us on the VHF and said, "Hey guys, do you mind if I go ahead of you?" He knew full well we were going to have a hard time getting in that channel. So just before we entered the channel, we did a 360-degree donut with our boat to let Christy get ahead of us. We weren't too sure exactly where we were going, and the captain from Christie said we could follow him in. He also warned us that there's shoaling in there, and there was one of the buoy marks that we had to hug or we'd hit bottom.
Coast Guard boat.
It's always a bad sign when the Coast Guard hears you're coming in, and they come to hang out and babysit you. They've probably seen a lot of boats get stuck, wrecked, or in trouble in a hurry in this channel. Oh crap, it's rough in here. We've got WildChild's engine pushed pedal to the metal and we are barely crawling forward. Uh-oh. Some power boats were stacking up behind us and asked if they could jump us in the line because we were going so slowly. It took a while, but eventually we made our way further into the harbor where the waters were calmer, not so much current. But now we have to find out, where can we go? Hey, thank you US Coast Guard guys for keeping an eye on us out there. If things had gone wrong, they would have gone wrong in a hurry. Once we were past the hard parts, I put Michelle on the helm so I could grab the cell phone and sort of have a look around. I'd heard that there was a marina near here, but we have to find it. Eventually we found the narrow channel entrance to the north and made our way in. We spent 2 nights at the marina because there was more bad weather coming.
Good job, honey.